Hey everybody, good morning. It's David here, and I'm here to paint with you or paint for you. It's early in the morning. Cheers, everybody. Still haven't had a cup of coffee yet, so cheers. So I would have liked to have been outside, but it's getting pretty chilly out there, and I'm becoming a wimp actually. And actually, I wanted to do this painting. I've been looking at this photo all week, and I just want to paint this thing. And so instead of going outside, it actually is a pretty nice day out there. It's a little chilly this morning, but I became a wimp this morning and decided to stay inside. So we're gonna be doing this little scene of a couple of chefs in the kitchen, and I'm doing it on board. I'm doing it on illustration, crescent illustration board, until Stonehenge makes their paper on aluminum panels. I'm using this at the moment, and I really like using this paper board only because I'm waxing it afterwards and just putting it right into a frame. So I'm really loving that. And so we're just gonna go with I'm gonna use a lot of grays in this. And look at all these, boy, is it always like this with all these, look at all that. Now my lighting is, for some reason I'm seeing my lighting really different today. So maybe I have to up it a little bit. Anyways, let me just 1 second, let me just change this because it seems like I'm getting too much of this. Hey Maria, hey Dave. Let me just real quickly, hold on. I don't think this is bright enough. There we go. A little bit brighter, but still get the shadowing, but that's not too bad. All right, so let's get going here. I've got a lot of work to do here in this one. And so we start with our lights, like we always do. We start with our lights. Hey, Pamela. Good morning, guys. And so I'm going to be doing, again, I didn't tape this down again because it is a board. It's a watercolor board. Actually, Maria is the one that turned me onto this, that they're making them again. Thanks, Maria, for doing that. It's a crescent watercolor board. And it takes masking fluid really well, but it also rubs out really well. So I'm gonna rub out a lot on this thing. And so let's start with our lights, and our lights being that they are going to be the chefs themselves because they're wearing white. And I didn't do a value study, but I'm squinting my eyes at the picture, and I'm just doing this really quickly. And basically everything besides the chefs is in my darks, the windows and the chefs, and a lot of little speckled lighting is my lights, basically. So everything, all the cookware, all the background, that's all my dark. And so my lights are basically going to be the chefs and the windows, and also it looks like salads and greens. There's a bunch of greens in there. Of course, I'm going to have to make them green because, but I think basically what it's going to do, the green to me is like a yellow, and so I'll do that with like a yellowish green. And I'll put that in there right away. And I'm not gonna wet the surface completely. I'm just gonna go in, let me just see, I think I have some green right here, yellow green right here. Just gonna kind of put that in there real quick, like where all the greens are gonna be, where the lights are gonna be. And I'll put some yellow in there too, yellow and green. And that'll be great with the violets because I'm using a lot of gray, and a lot of the gray is going to be violet to me. I'm looking closer. Looks like there's a plate here with some stuff on it. And I can make some more green with a little bit of blue. With my horizon blue, I can make a nice green. And the violet being the grays, there's going to be a lot of grays and black in this. I really want to use a lot of that. Only because those are my favorite colors anyways, and so what a great way to do the grays. Cleaning my palette here a little bit. Got to do that before I started. But usually, if I'm using my palette, like on Thursdays, I'm painting it, and so I'm using the same color, so I like to leave those in there. So that's still from the Oriole that I did, Oriole bird. So let's go with I'm gonna go with some lavender, And I should have filled some more of that up, but I can also make it with lavender or violet and white. And so put a little white in there. And then go right into the lights of the chefs, because they're light, but they have shadow on them. And so I'm just gonna kind of put that on there real quickly. And I notice I'm not wetting the whole background, because the background is my dark. And so this is not like a landscape where the landscape is light to dark. This is almost like doing a still life, because you're doing, the background is going to be your dark and your foreground is your light. Your center of interest are your lights. And so I'll take a little bit of this Davies gray here, some grays here, green gray or yellow gray, I mean. I'm just going to put that in there. These little spoons up here, they have a little bit of light on them. And see, I put a little bit of gray into that, into the violet. And then his collar. The side of his arm is a little bit light. So you're kind of going into detail right away, but it is part of my lights. So this is kind of interesting that you kind of are doing step 3 together with step 1, but you know, there's nothing I can do because it's like a still life. So you're going in there and getting a lot of your Maria says that Crescent is now making plein air cold press 100% cotton on extra heavyweight boards. I'll have to try that. I didn't know that. I've been ordering. I just ordered these. These come in 20 by 30 panels. This is just a part of one, and really, it's neat that you can rub out, and once Legion makes their aluminum panel, it'll probably be just as good. Except they don't have them available yet, so I got to use this. I got to use something on boards, because I'm really lazy lately about making my own boards. So now we're going to go in here with her. And see, I'm just kind of going in. I could go beyond that spot because it's going to be dark around her, but I can control my brush enough to, you know, make it look to the edge. We're getting the edge, and here we have little lines in his hat. And I'm getting some of the wrinkles in the, not wrinkles, but the little waves in the material, the folds and stuff. And so I can get a little bit of that too right away. So I'm wetting as I go along. I'm kind of wetting the paper with pigment, and I'm going to use that then to cut out the shapes and stuff of the chefs. And basically they're my lights, right? They're my lights, and so I gotta do those first. And here, this is just a nice, and I'm not being super detailed, you know. I'm going in, yes, I'm getting kind of detailed, but I'm not to where I'm doing really fine detail yet. I'm just cutting out large shapes, my large lights, and I'm just putting my large lights in there. Giving him a little bit more color, and also reflect some of the color from like the greens. I should put some of the green into that, because it's going to be reflecting into them. Don't forget to reflect. Reflective color is kind of a good thing to put in there. And I'll do more of the folds in this later on, but right now I'm just getting the overall lights and darks. Basically the overall lights is what I'm getting, and so I'm just going to put them in there. And there's going to be steam here coming up in the middle there, and that I'll just do with wet in the wet. And so why don't I do that right now? I'm just going to put some wetness in there and get some steam going. A little bit of warmth in there, and it's going to kind of put some of those steam. And then I've also got to put some darks in there, because otherwise the steam doesn't look like anything. So I will take my smaller brush, and I know this is again kind of detailed, but to get that softness, I gotta go wet in the wet and right away put in the dark. So this is kind of a middle tone dark, gray, lavender, and so right along here, I'm just gonna put a little bit of that dark in there to get some of that. See, like I'm always saying, that there's times that you may squeak from some of the steps into the other steps when it's not really, you're not really doing that step overall, but you're doing parts of it. And so don't be afraid of, you know, going in and getting those steps done. It's not like you have to stay within those steps. I just need to get this softness in here, the soft edges, and so I might as well get that done right now. And see, that way you get a soft edge. I'll get the steam. See, it already looks like steam in there. And then when I get to doing the background, I can do more of it. He's got some kind of, I'm not sure what he's got in his hand, but all right. And so that's pretty much our lights, I think. Middle tones, like the large middle tones, that'll be coming up. And the windows, those are light. I'm just going to keep them white. And so, and all these, in the sides of them, they're. Oh, actually, let's get some of the flesh tone in there. That's also the part of the light. And I just want to keep on making sure that you understand that I always do this the same way. I'm always painting the same way. And I know I teach it that way, but, you know, really, I follow it. I follow myself. I follow to a T that I do the Becker 3-step, where I do lights, middle tones and darks, and then my detailed darks. I do that with everything I do. I don't care if it's working in my studio by myself. That's just the way I do watercolor. So let's get this in here, the lights, and I'll get his face more. I'll get all the darks in there later on, and this is just the light parts of his flesh. If you wanted to like make some of the darks in there right now, you could, but again, I wanna follow those 3 steps, and so that'll come later on when I'm doing the details, the darks, the dark details and dark lights. This guy's face, we're just gonna. He's over there, and we don't want to give him too much light, or too much detail, I should say. Oh, her face! I forgot her face, and her face is quite dark. So let's make it a little bit darker. So here are my lights. Very loose, nothing really too super detailed. But I'm following, I'm going into the lines a little bit, but it's not that detailed. I mean, there's still a lot that can be done. Let's do a little bit of lighting in here. There's little light hits here and there. These are spoons, like little ladles. In the background, there's some things that are light. Then I go next. I'm going with my large, mediums, and darks. Hey Marie, if you got a link to one of those things on one of the things, put them down there. I would like to see. I never even heard of heavyweight boards. So if you have the link to that, that'd be great. Or email me that. That'd be awesome. All right, so now our large. I'm gonna go back with my big brush, and let's get our big areas done now. And this is our large medium areas, and take medium colors. And I'm going to try to keep it light, nice and large. And again, these are not my darks. These are just my large mediums. And that's nice because then I can do the details with the darks. So I'm just going to go in here, get a nice medium tone, and also get a nice wash. I mean, this is where you get beautiful washes. And don't worry about all the things that are happening. You definitely got to go around the people. You know, it's got to go around them pretty nicely. I'm wetting as I go along. And I'm wetting it as I go along with pigment. So I've got pigment in my brush. And I'm going to try to make some edges, some edges that are middle tones and a little bit darker. I'll go around some light areas. But overall, it's just going to be a big, huge, large wash of pigment. And as I'm going along, see, I'm going to go along this edge of his hat. And If you're really tight in your painting, then yes, you're going to go slower, and you're going to still do it this way though. Still do the large areas, and then there's a nice shadow that comes across here. Go down his back. It's a little bit lighter on the bottom here, and so I'm just going to make that a soft edge. Soft edges, I'm trying to get all soft edges because that darks will give me the hard edges. And I can worry about that later. The hard edges are easy. I just wait for this to dry. You get all those nice hard edges. But right now I want soft edges. It doesn't matter how complicated something is in a drawing either. This could be a city scene. This could be anything that's really complicatedly drawn. But you still work large areas. And I still am going to work all this stuff large, and then I'll go back and get the smaller stuff to identify it to what it is, those small items. But first, I'm going with the big. Because then you get the lighting effect, and you get the right values that you want. That's really important, is you get the right values. I'm going to make this a little bit darker, so I'm going to go in a little dark. And don't leave the area until you got it the way you want it. Because I can make soft edges with a little bit more pigment. And then there's like really dark right back here, and stops a little bit. So see, I am getting some edges. I'm getting some edges in there right away. It's still wet, and so that means I'm getting soft edges. But if you use a lot of pigment, it'll stop. And I also use my towel. Remember, I always touch my towel, and then I can go in there and get some edges. See, I'm just kind of going in there, getting some edges. It's wet. It's wet. It's really wet, actually. And here I'm just going to... And then, let's see, which part is light? This part is lighter. Now let's get into a little bit lighter. Not so many darks. Maybe a little grayer. And wet it. Definitely want to wet it. And it goes around the ladles here. And there's a light right next to his hat here. But I am getting a little bit darker than he is. I can also see I'm pulling out. I take a thirsty brush and I pull out a little bit of the paint. And I got a nice watermark there. That really worked out well. So it's nice getting watermarks sometimes. And oh, I forgot this is also the area where the steam is coming up. So I'm going to keep that soft. This gets a little bit darker against the window. Okay, around her. Oh. That's supposed to be light. Okay. This is supposed to be light right there underneath the ladles. And I can put different colors in there. You know, I don't have to go with just the one violet. I can put a little bit of warmth, especially in the center of interest area right here. I can get a little bit more colorful. I'm going to rub out here, this area, because it's dark around right here. And I'm going to wet this area because I still, you know, getting soft edges is so important to me because when I did that bird, I really realized how neat the background was by keeping it all soft edged, keeping it out of focus. That really helps a lot when it comes to showing dimension in your work. You can make the person hard edged. You know, you can do that really easily because it's dry. It's very simple to do dry edges, hard edges on dry, because you basically just are painting. You're painting a line. When you're doing the soft edged here, that's a soft edge now because it's darker or harder. And this is going to be, oh, I see, this is a little bit, let's wet it. Like this. This is a mixer right here. There's a mixer right in here. Go right into all this. Just wet it, and then I can manipulate it in a second. This is pretty light, but I'm going to stream it on a little bit. This is really light. There's a patch right here. And then let's start using a little bit thicker paint. Rub your brush on the towel so that you can keep the... what I do is I turn it, I rinse it out the water, but now I have pure pigment in here. And so now I can go in there and just kind of start manipulating the paint through here. Getting the line, because it's still wet, and so I'm going to go in here now and let it flow to a certain point. And then there's like a little bit dark right here. It comes down dark. Thanks, Maria, for the link. Hi, just joined. Did you minimize the greens to use green pigment? Should I get myself green pigment as a beginner plus, or keep on mixing primary and earth colors? Yeah, I know. I mix all my greens. I do have this green, this leaf green, and this composed green, but I like to mix my with quinacridone gold and my blues. That's how I usually make my greens. So yeah, I would say mix your greens. You don't need to buy greens really. Most of the greens that are out there, I just don't like that much. I do like the like I said, I do like the what do you call it, the leaf green, because it's kind of a yellow green. It's really very nice and vibrant green, which is hard for me to get because I don't really have a vibrant blue or a light blue that's not doesn't have white in it. This becomes really dark in here, and I'm going to make this a little bit warmer dark. There's a faucet. And it's going to bring this in here nice and dark. And you notice I'm still using my big brush. I'm still getting my large, mediums, and darks. Large, mediums, darks are still happening. Right now it's mostly mediums. And look at how this steam looks really nice, but then I did that little hard edge right there. I got to get back in there and dull that down a little bit. And so then there's a bunch of nice darks through here. You know, when it comes down here, this is all detail stuff. But I can just throw a little bit of this middle tone into this area. The mixer, the bowl is kind of is darker, and I can actually wipe out there too later to get the nice feel of that. Trying to get it soft edged a little bit. Come around here, just fill this all in. Let's make this a warmer gray. So I'll use a little bit of orange in there, maybe. Use some violet, and orange is always fun. Makes it kind of a brown. I'm just going to bring this across here. Maybe a little bit darker. I don't mind using black once in a while too. Here underneath these, on the stove and stuff, this is all really dark here. This pot right here, I can put like a light middle tone in there. Oh, I just went right into my beautiful steam. It's funny when you start doing it, get a wash that's really soft edge. You don't want to go back into it if you don't have to. Again, I'm getting my large areas done, getting the large middle tones. Middle tones, step 2. Remember, step 2 is large mediums, large darks, large areas. I'm talking large areas. And let's get a little bit of green in there too, because there is a lot of this green going to be reflecting into the. This is all stainless steel, right? And so there's going to be a lot of reflection going on in this scene. So just let's take some green, my leaf green, and just throw it right into some of this metal. These are all stainless steel tops, and so you're going to get a bunch of reflections here and there. It's like anything shiny. I always talk about shiny things that if they're wet or shiny, like steel or metal, that's like water. You just do it the same way you do water. It's all reflected from the top, coming down. And see, now I'm getting my light is starting to evolve, and I'm starting to get the chefs to be my light areas. And so those will be all the only thing that's light, right? And so I'll be looking at that. It'll be really, really cool. The lighting, you get the lighting effect and everything. So now he's got this pad over here. A lot of this over here is just the jumbled lights or middles and darks. Detailed darks will start explaining things like these eggs sitting right here. There's some eggs right there. His apron, all their aprons are black, and so that'll be dark too. But I can do that as dark details and come in later and get that. Now the lines, I notice there's lines, really hard edge black line going across here. I don't kind of like that because it's kind of cutting down and it's right too much to the edge of the paper, and that's kind of too tangent to the front. So instead I'm just going to make a nice clean wash, soft wash. Here, just going to put a little bit dark in there and let that be soft edged and not worry about that. that edge, because I just rather have it soft and just not tight. I don't need to have that tight edge there. This is a plate. All right, and that's going to be really dark right there. So that's pretty much my large mediums, basically. My large mediums. I do want to get rid of this hard edge right here because this is still supposed to be steam right here. So I'm just going to rub that out a little bit. So there's my large mediums, large darks. So what's next? Detailed darks. You know, and how easy is that? I mean, now we just go into our detailed darks. Pushes up a little bit. You can see how I go over, my towel picks up some of the the paints. Let's go over here. Okay, their window here, windowsill. Not sure if I want this light in. Do I want it that bright right there? I guess I do. Maybe just put a little bit over there, just to kind of, so it doesn't look so bright and white. I'll keep that for my center of interest, which is right in here. Wash up. Excuse me. Let me just get another drink here of coffee. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, no, I ask questions. Ask away. I'm always looking up, and I'm going to see if I can't answer anything while I'm painting. I'm getting pretty used to doing that, and so no problem at all whatsoever. And actually, that's why I'm here, to show you what I'm doing. And if you need to ask questions, please ask away. It's not going to affect my painting. I'm just going to keep on going. Now I have to wait for it to dry a little bit. Well, so while it's drying, I might as well get some of my details done, because now it's my dark details. It doesn't matter where you start either with the dark details. Start anywhere you want. You know, it's like it doesn't matter, because it's now that's all that's left. So I'm going to start where it's dry. You know, where it's going to be most important. And so I'm going to take my small brush, and I might as well get their faces done right now. That way I know it's done. You know, I can get their faces done. And it's not going to be a super portrait type of thing, and so I'm just going to go in there and really quickly, you know, get the dark around the eyes, where the eyes are dark, and then it looks like underneath the nose here. So basically, you know, it's very loose, and maybe he's got some dark hair here, so we'll just put some sideburns on him. I know that it doesn't see that in there, and also I think in the picture I drew his shoulders a little bit smaller, down a little bit. So I'm going to do that again back here, make this a little bit darker, bring down his shoulders a little bit. It seemed like a little bit too high, shoulders. This is the background now. I'm just kind of, a lot of stainless steel happening back here. So I'm just making a few things darker, and look at how just by one couple brush strokes, how it's starting to look more realistic. You don't need to get super detailed, you know, it's just enough to know that this is a chef, and you can see his features. You know, it all, again, if you're doing really super tight, you know, where you want to get in there and get his face really tight, that's fine. Then you gotta make sure your drawing is right on, for one. And then just spend more time in that area, getting soft and hard edges. And I would actually do it bigger too, because it's hard doing something this small, because it's basically what, quarter sheet, and so this is small when it comes to details. It's hard to do details this small. So now he's got his hand, he's holding something. I'm not sure what he's holding, but that really doesn't matter. Same thing with her. She's got you can see like the side here, and you see the darks of the eyes, the eye sockets. Basically, you don't see the eyes in general, because it's like it's way too small. You just see the big picture of the face and the shadowing. And so it's like a gesture. It's just basically a gesture of the person. And again, you can get more and more detail as you go along. I mean, you can get things like little lines on top of the hat, but you also got to realize that when you're doing this area where it's really tight, then you got to do other areas even. I mean, if this is the tightest, then that regulates the rest. So if this is really tight, then you get back here, you can get a little bit tighter than just what you see in the photograph. But if I make it too tight in the background, then I've got to make it super hyper realism in here in the foreground. So I'm gonna keep it loose back here, so I don't have to make that tight in the foreground here. A few lines here and there to indicate that there's stuff happening back there. Just gonna take a nice dark color. And if you need to soften these edges while it's dry, you can put a brushwork. You can take your big brush or maybe your half-inch brush, and you can fill it with water, and you can still make it soft edge by just rubbing over it. See, like that. Just take basically a wet brush and just kind of go over it. You know, you can still do that. And that'll keep it soft. And I'm just, does it really matter exactly that what's back there is exactly true to what's back there? No, I don't feel in my representation of painting, I don't really care if it's totally like what's happening in the picture. As long as it gives the feel of this is a restaurant being, these chefs are really busy cooking, that's what I want. If it's not a portrait of, the chef, it's a portrait of the whole kitchen. Alright, we gotta hurry up here. Oh, look at it, I put my hand into this. Alright, let's get our small brush here again. I like to work from back to front is what I like to do when it comes to the dark details. That way I know if I'm doing the background how detailed I have to get with the foreground. Again, the more detailed the background, then it has to be the center of interest, even more detail. So I don't try to get too much detail back here, so I don't have to do super detailed in the front here. Here's a nice shadow up there. Again, you can always pull shadows and make them soft, even though it's a dry brush. You can soften them by just wetting it. Let's get a little bit more of this grayish, warm gray. And then we've got, so this is steam. So you gotta still I gotta put the steam in here. So you gotta make sure I keep the steam going. But with the steam, there's also some really darks right here. So I'm getting his apron, which is really dark. And by putting these darks in, a lot of times you're negative painting things in. So you're doing two things at once. I'm doing the plant in front of it, the greenery in front of it, the lettuce in front, and I'm also doing his apron at the same time. So you got to watch out for negative painting. I mean, it's really important that you get that look. And that's one thing in watercolor that it's really super fun to do. And it makes it so much more watercolor looking. And that's what we were doing. We're painting a watercolor painting. So be proud that it looks like I want it to look like a watercolor, and so I want to have floating pigment. I want to have negative painting. I don't care if it looks like the photograph completely. I just hope it looks like a painting. A really nice painting is what my goal is. And so look at these nice darks. I mean, they're just just my warm darks, cool darks. I go by that. I go by, is it a warm dark, cool dark? These pots are going to be really fun to do, these copper pots or these stainless steel pots, because then there's a lot of light and dark throughout everything. So little by little, you're just getting all the things working out. Here's the edge of his. Now you can also get the details of the folds in his shirt here. Nice. Let's get these pots going here. I love these stainless steel pots. That's gonna be the best thing about the painting is these stainless steel pots, because you can just put these lines going up and down. They look so shiny. I definitely want to make them look shiny. And so that since it's metal and it's reflective, you're gonna get all the colors in there too. You know, it's just you get all the colors that you want to get. A little bit of the green, a little bit of the violet. These pots down here are really dark. And inside something's frying, I'm sure, in there. So let's get that warm in there. Because you don't want to make it look dirty, your food. So I like to make it warm. So I'm sticking some red in there. Some orangey red. It makes it look cleaner. It makes it just look clean. The pot itself, I'm going to make lavender and then the stove itself is really, really dark. I'm sure it's like, you know, like those stoves are, where they have the grates and stuff that are just black, basically. Here we have glass. I think these little greenery is in glass, and so a little bit of dark through here. It's detailed, so this is negative painting, the background around the hand. Some more stainless steel back there. And now now's the time where you go to get details. Before, when I did the other parts, I'm not looking for detail. I'm looking for large areas of light and dark. Now I am looking for details. I want to show exactly what's happening everywhere. I want to make it look exactly like what it is. I want to make this look like a potted stainless steel pot. I want this to look like a top of the lid. I want to, so you're basically drawing and painting at the same time, because you do need to make it look like whatever it is. This is the time. This is the time now to do your dark details. It's the finishing touches of your painting. There's a nice plate, and look at all these darks, beautiful darks in here. Get her apron. I once did a commission of a Chicago chef right downtown. He was a chef, and I went into the kitchen, and the kitchen was basically a disaster. I mean, this kitchen was so like, you know, you're out there in the restaurant. The restaurant is so beautiful, but inside there's so much stuff everywhere, and not dirty wise, but just confusion of everything all around. And I'm just like, wow, how do they know where to go for things and stuff? There's so much stuff in there. And I had to do a commission of the chef, and he was making scallops, and that was pretty cool. And then we got to eat them afterwards, because they hired me to do a commission of the chef and working, and so I had him cooking just like this kind of thing, and it was super fun. It was super fun to do, and then to eat the food that he made was really kind of fun too. So now on the top of the plate again. All this stuff is really important to get in there and just get all the details. And it doesn't have to look exactly, you don't have to know exactly what's going on there, as long as it does look like there's a lot of stuff happening, basically. That's the feel I want to get. I want to get a feel of the kitchen being really stainless steel, a lot of beautiful, clean surfaces, and it's amazing what just a little bit of dark and black will do to your painting. I mean, look how it's shining up together now. I'm gonna redo this area in there with the soft edge, but I have to wait until this is all pretty dry, and then I'm gonna go back in with the soft edge and get that nice steam happening again. Here's that mixer. You know, even little things like that, the mixer and stuff, isn't that cool? Now I'm starting to get a little bit too detailed, and I want to get a little bit more into the big area again. Like this has got to be blurry, and so I want to make it contrasty, especially this area too. I want to make it contrasty and not so detailed. So I'm just going in here with some really darks, some large area of darks. Oh, I forgot this is a faucet right here. And so I'm going to dull this down a little bit. Blur it. And so when I say blur it, I mean out of focus. Photographers do this all the time so you don't look in this area. I'm just going to blur it out of focus. Get some stainless steel reflections happening here. Make it a little bit darker. And then just bring it all together. This is almost too light here. Dull that down a little bit. Take my bigger brush. Just get this nice and out of focus. When you don't want to see something, just make it out of focus. Thanks, Darcy. Yeah, I love watercolors. Look like watercolors. It's, you know, I don't want them to look like a photograph. Though that's you know, it's a certain style that people love, and so that's fine. I personally can't do that. I like them to look like watercolors. To all his own, you know. We all are different painters, and that's cool. It's good that we have different painters too. We wouldn't have all our work look the same, anyways. We want nice, different kind of works looking differently. So there's a teapot here or something. There's some. What's happening here now then? We've got. Oh, this is all pots and pans here too. And now I'm going to put like darker greens in here, so I got to make my own green, a dark green. Because the greenery has some darks in it, and so I'll take quinacridone gold, make some dark greens, and bring them into my salads and stuff here. I like to mix the green again because you get a more natural green than if you buy it. It's just a little bit more grayer green. I don't like the really vibrant greens. I make it kind of look like salads or whatever it is that is over here. Same thing here. This looks like a little bit of spices, oregano, and parsley. Probably some parsley in here. Looks like a dish that's already made, and here's some eggs. Let's put some bright colors in here now too. Let's get some orange in here. Super fun to do something like this. That seems very complicated, like it's a lot of stuff happening in there. But it's fun to do things like this because it just is not as hard as you think. It's just a drawing. Yes, a drawing has to be on. And you got to get a lot of drawing to do. But once you get the drawing done, then don't feel like you need to have it that detailed. You can go in and get these big areas and just make it look loose. It's okay. And you know, it's a cool thing about it. You can make it look loose and it'll still show what it is. I'm jumping all around here, ain't I? Normally I don't like to do that, jumping around like that, but this is just so much fun. I'm really enjoying this painting. I've been looking at this painting, and I like complicated subject matter, but that you can turn down to make it look easy. By just doing big areas, getting them done. Knife here. Now I'm going to get a little bit more of the details in their uniform and stuff. And You know, it's good to know also, like if you can't see subject matter, know your subject matter a little bit. Like know what they're wearing. You know, the outfit that they wear, the hats that they wear. Know what that is and study it, figure it out. Because there's even like I remember going into I was on a cruise ship and I took a one of the tours was to do the kitchen. Because I love kitchens like this, and it was of the ship kitchen, and wow, was that cool! I've got so many pictures. I should do one of those. The bottom of the ship, it was like a whole floor of just them working, and it was just amazing. Again, all stainless steel, so a lot of shiny stuff. You know, I mean that's what makes this picture too. Is all this shiny stuff. That's fun. A little reflection on the eggs. And we're getting pretty close here, guys. Let me see what else we have. Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, we like to do the shows. I mean, it's all about the chaos that's happening in the chef's kitchen. And so now, let's see. She has a little bit of. There's buttons I remember right here, and I'm just gonna throw them in there like that. Same thing with him. A couple buttons, and then. I really like the steaminess, but let's get some more steam in there. Because the steam is like a lot of lights and darks, and actually you can use white too. You can use white and black in the steam to make it look like it's blurry. Basically, steam is just light, blurry light. A lot of soft edges. And then we go up here. Use a little bit of white paint up here just to kind of make it come up this way. And actually, white paint in a painting like this really works well, you know, with the steam and with the light shininess. You can use just little white hits of white and black. Here's a handle, and here's again on the side of the pots. A lot of handles in here that I missed. And I always like to look at it through a camera or through my monitor, because then it shows it smaller, and then it also helps me to see the big picture. You know, if it's all holding together as one. And so I think the only thing I need to do from this is make this area a little bit darker up here. Let's kind of bring in that dark. And you can go back into an area over and over again as long as it's dry and you re-wet and let your pigment float. It's very important to let that pigment float, because that's where you get the soft edges. So it's floating in water. When I say floating, I'm meaning that the pigment is basically setting into a puddle of water, and it's just sitting there drying and giving you a nice smooth soft edge. And then you can put other colors in there too at the same time. Because by making this darker, it makes my light look brighter back here. And I do want some color in there, so maybe some warmth. Put a little bit of orange in there. See, I just floated a little bit of orange in there. Now, that being said, though, I need to put this somewhere else now, though, because that's just one spot like that would be not good. So I gotta put that somewhere else. So that warmth has to go somewhere else in the picture. And use this to put it over here, maybe. Put it all the way to the top then, too. The top meaning that's forward then, and that's back. This is back, that's forward. That's farther closer to you, so. And look at, there's even this little bit of shadowing. You put a little shadow and there's little lines going across the window. Okay, I think we're pretty much done here now. Actually, I got until 10, right? I started at 9, so still got time. So let's do a little bit more on the detail of the hat. we're going to make it a little bit tighter. These hats have little lines in them. It's just getting a little bit tighter with some of the details. His edge of his shoulder, really, this light coming from both ways, but his arm looks kind of weird here. Let's put a little bit of detail here. I'm going to have to use some white and some black. I'm going to use some pure black on him because I want him to stand out the most. So I want the most contrast on him, the most detail on him. It looks like his sleeve is darker than the background, which I didn't do. So let's make his sleeve darker. There we go. And back here it's a little bit darker along his face, so his face pops out a little bit. Not quite that dark, so we'll just tone it down a little bit. Thank you for the lesson. The drawing is very difficult. Yeah, Sylvia, it's always about the drawing, but practice your drawing. And I'm going to be coming out with a book in time, probably by next year, about how to work from your imagination. And so we're going to hopefully get that out there, and it'll teach you to practice, how to practice and to memorize what you're drawing. And hopefully it will help people learn how to draw a little bit better. And for now, while you're doing it, if you want to do a great painting, then somehow, don't be afraid of tracing either. Trace your imagery, because you don't want to be painting a painting on a really bad drawing. I don't care how good your painting is. If you don't have a nice drawing, you really can't get a great painting. Drawing is so important in the painting process, because not only does it help you for the actual drawing, but it also shows you and helps you with the dimension of the piece and how to capture that. It's always, they think it's just a line work. No, it's about a lot more things than just drawing that make it look like what it is. It's about dimension and all that stuff. It all helps together. Darker, put a little bit of white. Okay, now my final thing I'm going to do is start putting white into this. Just going to kind of put some light reflections and things that are really bright. Like on here, there's a little white thing, a little bright. So I'm taking pure white now and hitting it in certain spots to show shininess. Like the side of the pot, maybe here. And on some of this metal, you're going to see on the edges really white, right? Anything on the edge is going to be, it's going to show the window white. And even some of the salads may be wet, and you see reflection in the wetness of the salad plate here and there. The side of his arm here, we can put a little bit of light there. On the surface, a couple hits of just really light little specks that are really light. Little dots always help. It's like little dots. All right, I think we're pretty close here, guys. A nice Sunday morning, little demonstration. Any last questions? Because I think we're getting pretty close here. Oh, and let's get her hand a little bit darker, a little bit more detail on her hands, like on her fingers, a little bit darker, getting the shadowing. Another thing on the face, maybe. This guy's face, we don't want to do anything to. We don't want to get too crazy with that. A little bit more blurriness up here. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Well, let's get some darks in here. Yeah, 5 minutes, but we're gonna end it early a little bit here. So actually this afternoon, this evening, I may be driving into the city of Chicago. There's an artist, I don't know if you know Jean Peterson. She's a watercolorist from up in Canada, west, somewhere in Canada, and she's in Chicago teaching. She's been teaching with Ingrid, and we may go out with a couple people. We may go out to dinner just to see, talk. She's also a Holbein artist, and I've known Jean for quite a while. And so I may be going to dinner with another artist. Oh, we'd be talking art, like always. So fun to talk art. All right, I think that's it, guys. Let me just put this brushes away. Let's look at it on a nice clean surface. There we go. I should put a weight behind it. See, this is where I should have the frame ready for it, so you can see it in a frame. You know, I'm gonna start doing that. But there you go, guys. Any last questions? I see one thing. Oh, one more thing. Just a little bit darker right here. Just be a little bit darker. All right, there we go. Sylvia likes the steam. Thanks so much. Nice and fresh. It's kind of neat. You know, it's just basically not too tight, but it has that tight feeling. You know, and it's just the sun and everything coming through there. But again, thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I do every Thursday, I do a paint along. This is mostly just a demonstration, but I do a paint along where you can paint along, or you do it later on. And that's always on Thursday. And sign up for my newsletter, and that'll let you know what we're painting on Thursday. All right. Until next Thursday, we'll see you then.